Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff has said she is proud of the tens of thousands of people who have taken to the streets to demand better education, schools and transport. "My government is listening to the voices calling for change," said Ms Rousseff in her first comments since Monday night's protests. The protests began with demands for bus fare hikes to be revoked. They have turned into nationwide demonstration against bad governance. "Brazil has woken up a stronger country," said President Rousseff. "The size of yesterday's marches is evidence of the strength of our democracy. It is good to see so many young people, and adults, the grandson, the father and the grandfather, together holding the Brazilian flag, singing our anthem and fighting for a better country," said Ms Rousseff. She said her government had lifted 40 million people into the middle class, but more needed to be done to improve access to free health and education. The demonstrations are Brazil's largest since 1992, when people took to the streets to demand the impeachment of President Fernando Collor de Mello. More demonstrations are planned in several Brazilian cities in the next few hours, with a major rally set to take place in Rio on Wednesday. Isolated violence. The current wave of protests began earlier this month, with marches in São Paulo against a hike in the price of bus fares, from R$3, $1.40, 90 pence, to 3.20. They have been organized largely by young people through social media. The organizers called the movement Passe Livre, or free access. Monday night saw the biggest demonstrations since the movement began. In Brazil's largest city, São Paulo, about 65,000 people took to the streets. The largest march was in Rio de Janeiro, where some 100,000 people marched peacefully through the city center. Towards the end of the evening in Rio, there were violent clashes between groups of protesters and police. The Rio de Janeiro State Assembly was attacked, shops were vandalized and a car was set alight. There were also isolated incidents in São Paulo, Brasília, Porto Alegre and other cities. The isolated acts of violence, carried out by a minority, should be vigorously condemned, said Ms Rousseff. The demonstrations gathered pace as Brazil hosts the Confederations Cup, a curtain-raiser event for next year's Football World Cup. Many complained of the huge amounts spent on construction for the World Cup and the 2016 Olympics, which will be hosted by Rio de Janeiro. "We need better education, hospitals and security, not billions spent on the World Cup," said one mother who attended the São Paulo march with her daughter. Deputy Sports Minister Luis Fernandes said the World Cup had provided an opportunity for the country to invest in infrastructure which will benefit everyone. "There is widespread support in the Brazilian population for the World Cup and the Confederations Cup," said Mr. Fernandes.